Hi, I'm Chandi Kadirgamar, and I'm here to talk about UNDP's contribution to gender equality and women's empowerment, which was a thematic evaluation we did covering the period 2008-2013 in UNDP. What I'm particularly going to focus on are the analytical frameworks that we used for this evaluation. Let me begin with a quick overview of what I'm going to cover in this presentation. I'm going to give you a little background, then talk about two scales that we used: the Gender Results Effectiveness Scale, the GRESS, and the Gender at Work Quadrants of Change. Let me tell you, in terms of background, we developed a gender equality strategy covering the period 2008 to 2013 in UNDP. And the task of the Independent Evaluation Office was to assess how far UNDP had managed to produce gender results in its four areas of focus, which are poverty, governance, environment, and post-conflict support. So the key question for the evaluation was, has UNDP contributed to development results that address gender equality and women's empowerment? We needed a general answer to that question. So to do that, the evaluation created a database of 260 gender results from 62 Assessment of Development Reports, ADRs as we call them, and also gender results that we collected from our 14 country visits. But it's important to note that we defined gender results as outputs or outcomes that contributed positively or negatively in UNDP interventions to gender equality and women's empowerment. We then used two analytical frameworks to assess these gender results, and I'd like to give you a quick summary of these two. The first one was the Gender Results Effectiveness Scale. Now, this was a scale, a 5-point scale that moved from gender negative through gender blind to gender targeted, gender responsive, and finally gender transformative results. In the first, gender negative, the result had a negative outcome. It either aggravated or reinforced existing gender inequalities. Gender blind, of course, had no attention to gender whatsoever. Gender targeted were results that focused on the number of equity, 50-50 of women and men or marginalized populations that were targeted. Gender responsive actually addressed equitable distribution of benefits, resources, and status or rights, but did not address root causes of inequalities. Gender transformative, nevertheless, was the best. It actually targeted roots of gender inequalities and discrimination. So this was the 5-point scale that we used to assess the results that we had collected in our database. It was created to make visible the quality issues that are often absent in accountability and reporting systems. And it was created to categorize what is usually not categorized, the level of effectiveness or the quality of gender results. But it's important to keep in mind that there are many different variations that a seemingly similar outcome can take. Considerations that we had in mind. There are lots of contextual issues which are important to include to interpret the GRESS categorization. Also, results may evolve over time. Gender-targeted or gender-responsive results have the potential to become transformative. And because underlying power structures are being tackled, there is also the possibility of reversal or backlash, and we were sensitive to all these. When we applied the GRESS to gender results, there were 266 gender results that we had collected. We found that in UNDP, our results were overwhelmingly gender targeted, meaning they were limited to counting the number of men and women involved. The only exception we saw was in the democratic governance area, where there were many gender responsive results because we considered them gender responsive because they addressed the different needs of men and women. There were also instances of backlash, barriers to or reversals of progress, which we reported across all thematic areas. The second framework was the Gender at Work framework. Now, this is a well-known framework which puts change on two quadrants: change from an individual to a systemic level and from an informal to a formal level. And there are four areas that we are particularly aware of. In individual change, we see consciousness and awareness and access to resources and opportunities as important to look at. And informal and formal policies are some of the systemic changes that we look for. And if you look closely at this graphic, you will see the specificities of the categorization required to look at the four quadrants of change. I won't go through them, but please take a quick look. The Gender at Work is an international collaborative that helps organizations to build cultures of equality and justice. And we found it very useful to look at this quadrants of change. In addition to using the GRESS to understand the quality of gender results, this Gender at Work framework helped us to better understand the type of changes UNDP most contributed to. Most of UNDP outcomes contributed, we found, to improving access to resources or opportunities. They changed laws and policies and strengthened awareness, but very few signaled systemic change in internal culture, which we found is a prerequisite for transformative change that we talked about in our GRESS framework. So moving forward, a key recommendation of UNDP's gender evaluation is that we should codify the way we want to monitor, report, evaluate, and audit our contribution. UNDP management has agreed to adopting such measures and has particularly targeted the Gender at Work framework as an area that they would like to explore further. In the Independent Evaluation Office, we will apply the GRESS and Gender at Work frameworks in our country-level evaluations. If you want to know more about our evaluation, do look at our report online at the website I indicate down at the bottom of this slide. Hope this has been helpful, and please do get in touch with us if you'd like more information. Thank you.